Here I am, hard at work to try and immortalize on film one of scuba diving's most treasured sites, the Malpelo Sanctuary of Fauna and Flora. I'm directing a documentary about this rock, lost in the middle of nowhere, so rich in fauna that it was declared a UNESCO Natural World Heritage Site in 2006. It is one of the best places to encounter the North Pacific's most emblematic sharks. It is also the scene of extraordinary biodiversity, a diversity of infinite numbers, of disproportionate sizes, of shapes, colors and species. It is also a site where unlikely encounters take place, like with the rare and mysterious Odontaspis ferox, a species that scientists believe could be endemic to Malpelo. Over the next few days, I will do everything in my power to come across it. The only slight problem is that the animal normally lives many hundreds of meters deep, and it rarely comes close to the surface. Although nature seems untouched in the marine sanctuary, and life is in abundance everywhere, a terrible threat hangs over the island and its marine life. Despite Malpelo being a protected site, the sharks are decimated. They are caught by poachers working for organizations that thrive off the lucrative trade in shark fins. Malpelo is 500 kilometers west of Colombia's Pacific coast. It is the summit of an underwater volcanic ridge, surrounded by abysses of over 4,000 meters deep. Malpelo's highest peak is 320 meters above sea level. The island is less than 4 square kilometers in size. Its cliffs plunge vertically into the sea, and it is totally inaccessible by boat. Despite its isolation and being so far from any land, endemic species such as crabs, reptiles, and many types of seabirds have developed. Among these is the Nazca booby, with a colony of over 100,000 birds, making it the largest on the island. In 1995, the island became a fauna and flora sanctuary under the authority of the Colombian Natural National Parks. When we left Panama, our bus followed the Pacific coastline for 4 hours. We've just arrived at Puerto Mutis, which feels like the end of the world. Our boat, the Yemaya, is anchored in a muddy estuary. It's not exactly a tourist marina, but it's just as well, as this authentic site purveys an even greater feeling of adventure. Now on board the Yemaya, the sun is shining, the sea is calm, and the miles drift by slowly at the rhythm of the Pacific Ocean. Finally, just before dawn, we approach the island. A large swell from the southwest hits the coast, but the boat stays steady. Given that anchoring is forbidden in the sanctuary, the boat is moored to a permanent buoy for the length of our stay. We'll use 2 skiffs to go to and from the diving sites. 3 dive guides are at my disposal to facilitate filming. One by one, Luis, Sten and Erica will take it in turn to show me their favorite sites and tell me about their special relationship with the ocean. Javier, a park ranger affected to the Malpelo Sanctuary, joins us on arrival. He will spend 5 or 6 consecutive weeks on the island with a small detachment of the army.
La misión de parques es administrar todo el sistema de áreas protegidas y coordinar las áreas. Mi misión es de regular, controlar y mitigar todas las presiones que afecten el área.
At long last, we've arrived on site. My search for the ferox can finally begin. This animal can grow to a length of 5 meters and normally lives at a depth of 500 meters. But on rare occasions, lucky divers have caught a glimpse of it at Bajo del Monstruo, the abyss of the monster diving site. The first dive of each day will be devoted to searching for the ferox. We will position ourselves at a depth of 50 meters, our backs against the rock facing a talweg, which plunges into the dark blue depths. In the darkness, we wait. Erica tries to draw the ferox towards us by squeezing a plastic bottle. Our eyes are riveted on the deep. Suddenly, a large shark appears out of the darkness. The ocean seems to stop still. My heart stops too, and I hold my breath. The animal is big, but not as big as I'd hoped. The closer it comes, the less doubt I have. But no, of course. It's only a Galapagos shark coming to visit us out of curiosity. It hangs around a long while before disappearing back into the dark depths. Despite all our valiant efforts, the long minutes lost waiting and the decompression stops, the ferox doesn't show up. Malpelo has quantities of nutriments brought in by 7 oceanic currents. This makes it one of the best examples of an incredible diversity and density of species. We descend taking care not to get too close to the rocks because of a large colony of green moray eels, which spends most of its time swimming in open water. We know they're not aggressive, but we can't take the risk of accidentally touching one. The moray's jaws hold enormous amounts of bacteria, and an infected bite could cut short the trip. We stop in front of a cleaning station. A task force is at work. Butterfly and angelfish are cleaning groups of rainbow runners and leather bass. Eagle rays soar overhead in tight formation. A Galapagos shark, a species endemic to the region, swims calmly by, jacks working on its tail. I was just telling myself that it had been a long time since I'd seen such an industrious workstation, when suddenly the first hammerhead sharks appear. I have a front row seat in this ocean theatre, with each celebrity passing by one after the other. The dives to find the ferox are as unfruitful as ever. To compensate for the lost time waiting for the monster in the deep, Sten and I make a few dives using the same tank. Each time that the species we're searching for is not present, we swiftly change site. As a result, we made so many dives that I have difficulty keeping track of all of them. At the D'Artagnan site, we come across a huge ball of big-eye jacks. During the day, for no apparent reason, they group together in motionless shoals, often numbering many thousands, identical in size, making them look like clones. Very often, the band of fish forms a circle and starts to swim in the same direction. At sundown they disperse. That afternoon we try our luck at El Bajon, a deeper site where Galapagos sharks gather. Attracted by the sound of the plastic bottle being squeezed by Sten's expert hands, 8 or 9 big specimens come on the scene fast. They never stray more than 10 to 12 meters from us. I'm filming without seeing the time fly by. A few minutes later, here we are once again on the bottom. I'm set up facing out to sea, concentrating on filming the reproduction of wrasses, a magnificent and harmonious sight. A hammerhead shark appears on the edge of my field of vision and passes by right in front of me. Didn't they always tell you never to hold your breath while diving? However, it's exactly what I do. If one single bubble escapes, my hammerhead would bolt without warning. Soon it is joined by at least 12 more. Despite the shallow depth, the nitrogen accumulates in my blood, and I start to take decompression time. Against my will, we leave our wall and start to go up towards the surface, swimming out to sea, surrounded by many dozen hammerhead sharks. It's an unforgettable sight, even for the most blasé of divers, which is certainly not my case. On the Aquario dive site, we come face to face with another species endemic to the tropical eastern Pacific, the mullet snapper. They are big carnivorous fish over 1 meter long, weighing nearly 15 kilograms. They are gathered together in by far the largest shoal I've ever seen. It is so big and dense that it blocks out the daylight, and the amount of excrement coming from it clouds the water. Seeing Sten swimming towards them with confident strokes of his fins, I pray silently that these predators don't suddenly change their eating habits. But as often is the case, the ocean's inhabitants live their life without taking any notice of these strange, masked visitors leaving a trail of bubbles behind them. A few minutes later, another multitude joins the first shoal. It is a band of many thousand Pacific bonitos, another carnivorous predator. The reason why Malpelo has so many predators is that the alimentary chain is unbroken. Life abounds, and there is enough food for all, including for the giants of the sea. One of them, a whale shark over 10 meters long, has just sailed over, heading for the snappers. We charge after it with rapid movements of our fins, but with one flick of its tail, the phlegmatic animal disappears in the murky water. A few seconds later, it comes out of the blue straight at me, but at the last minute, with a slight twist of its body, it misses me, passing by so close I feel the turbulence of its wake. Curious and even cumbersome, It plays with us for over a quarter of an hour. People have described this attitude before, but it's the first time I've experienced this behavior personally, and I have difficulty realizing that these animals are only fish. This sort of interaction normally only happens with marine mammals. Malpelo's marine wildlife shows no fear of divers. This brings about the most wonderful encounters. At the Cara de Fantasma dive site, we come across a school of many hundreds of barracudas. On board, once I've calmed down, I need to go through all the photos and films to rememorize the sequence and importance of the events. I have trouble realizing that it wasn't quite simply a figment of my imagination. But in the days to come, the dives will be every bit as rich and passionate as before, which testifies that Malpelo is one of the world's temples of underwater biodiversity. Out at sea, a floating object always attracts life. This tree trunk has drifted nearly 500 kilometers from the South American continent, and during its voyage, inhabitants have taken up residence in its shadow. This ball of fish has attracted others, which in turn have attracted predators to come to feast. We come face to face with hundreds of silky sharks. They're called silky sharks because of the texture and luminosity of their skin, which is bronze in color. They are rapid, curious, and insistent. They hunt in groups and amass their prey into a ball before charging them, jaws wide open. But this ball is already decimated and reduced to a few dozen individuals, which try desperately to escape the last predators still active. Although I am experiencing all the marvels the island has to offer, a real drama is happening right in front of us. Thanks to its reputation worldwide, the Malpelo sanctuary attracts greedy trust companies specialized in the trade of shark fins.
Por ejemplo, tenemos la pesca ilegal. La pesca ilegal viene de nuestros vecinos del sur, que son Ecuador, Norte, Costa Rica y Panamá, y tenemos embarcaciones también nacionales.
The poachers use long lines many kilometers in length, equipped with hundreds of hooks. The long lines are cast in the early evening and hauled in at dawn. Considerable catches are made in this shark sanctuary. But sharks are not the only ones to suffer from this non-selective fishing. Dolphins and swordfish are also caught. Comparatively of little commercial value, they are thrown back into the sea for the most part dead in an act of criminal waste. What motivates the poachers so much? The enormous profits to be made in this lucrative trade. In Hong Kong, which is the import and distribution centre for the whole of China, a kilo of dried shark's fins sells for up to $700. The poachers are equally motivated by the total lack of risk. For mainly logistical reasons, military boats cannot be moored permanently at Malpelo. Without them, the soldiers are incapable of intervening when poachers are sighted. Malpelo's sanctuary is therefore plundered and pillaged, and you can bet that if nothing's done, the poaching will increase and stocks will run out very fast. It is the last day of the expedition and our last chance to catch sight of the monster of Malpelo. Erica, Javier and I are down at 50 meters again, hoping that it will finally show up. But after waiting 20 minutes, I have to admit defeat and begin the swim to the surface. Once again, the monster is conspicuous by its absence. Back on board, I'm starting to think that the monster doesn't live in Malpelo's waters anymore, or that poachers have caught it. The last diving team comes on board. They claim to have seen the ferox at a depth of only 25 meters. I immediately think that my shipmates are making a bad joke. But one of the girls has managed to film it on her small compact camera. It is definitely the Odontaspis ferox, the monster of Malpelo. On film, we see a very large and majestic creature, swimming calmly without any fear of the divers surrounding it. I'm ecstatic. Here's the answer to all my questions. The mythical creature well and truly exists. It's still part of the legend of Malpelo, and scientists will be able to continue their research. I am neither bitter nor frustrated. The ocean is neither a cinema nor a zoo. It is an open space, without frontiers, where its inhabitants come and go in total freedom. At Malpelo, nature hates a vacuum. Here, all the shoals of fish are bigger, and dives are never the same. All sorts of encounters happen. Whether it be sharks or other marine life, everything here is unbelievably abundant. But how much longer can it last? The protected marine parks constitute a universal heritage. They are the sanctuaries that maintain the health and diversity of the ocean's ecosystems. The international community must become aware that creating protected marine parks is not an end in itself. Those in charge of the park's protection must be supplied with financial, legal and material means. The preservation of Malpelo can only succeed through a joint effort and a coordinated fight to tackle illegal fishing head-on and to stop the shark fin trade worldwide. I hope that these images will help in building this awareness.